everyone, Sir Heroscape here today. An exciting opportunity to come to you live. One, because I'm lazy and I didn't want to edit this video later. Two, but also to have an opportunity for you to ask questions and participate in this live stream. This is also very unique because I am also lazy and I don't usually have people on with me to talk about things. So I decided to get a little less lazy and invite my friend Michael, or Board Hero as he's known on the Heroscapers Discord and on heroscapers.com. I think you're on both the same name, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, I think I put the name in both the same, so
okay,
make it
cool.
Consistent.
Yeah. So we'll be coming to you today with our review of GenCon. Now, we roomed together, so that's why I've invited him on. We had a great weekend, had a lot of really good conversations about our experiences and kind of what we went through this weekend with Heroscape at GenCon. So just a quick rundown of kind of what we're going to cover today. Obviously, we'll try and get to your questions, but basically we want to just have a conversation about our experiences, kind of covering a simple format. We're going to talk about our initial reactions, some of our expectations going into it, and then kind of our reactions once we got there and some of those experiences. Talk about our highlights at Gen Con, whether that's actually playing games or just anything in general. And then specifically I want to talk about a review of things the community was curious or concerned about. We had some community concerns about just over the last few months, honestly, about Renegade not caring, the Tala jungle issue, some of the competitive rules and things going on around that, and that was a big concern, especially some of the changes within the last couple weeks before Gen Con. So covering all that and kind of reviewing all that in our experience is going to be kind of what we want to focus on today. So stick around as we talk about it today. So I will start off and let Michael introduce himself before we kind of jump in.
Sure. Yeah. So Michael, Board Hero, and I just really this year is when I started playing Heroscape, so I'm new to the Heroscape community and competitiveness, but I'm very competitive. I love playing competitive games, and I love board games, and I build board game tables and accessories for them, so this was like perfect when I found that Heroscape was coming back, got in contact with the local scene here in Utah, and went out, and the community's so awesome people. I've really enjoyed how welcoming everybody is. And then finding out about Gen Con, eventually my wife was like, you should go. And I was like, really? All right. So got that all set up and met up with Sir Heroscape at the Scape Summit here in Utah, which was really cool. And so then I was like, hey, let's room together. Let's go to Gen Con. That'll be awesome. And so just getting into it, and like just a little background, I've been in business, running businesses for 10 years now. I got a couple myself, so like on the business aspect of things, I'm always looking at that, like, how do they do all this and why do they do all this? So I kind of get into that a lot, personally.
Cool. All right, well, we're glad to have you here, Michael, and those of you watching, welcome you. Hopefully I don't regret having him on live stream.
I know some things now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Right. You spend a weekend with somebody, you get to know them pretty well, right?
Yeah.
All right. So let's jump right in. So I'll kind of start us off, and we'll just kind of make this a bit of a conversation. So talking about like our initial reactions as well as kind of our expectations. So going to Gen Con. I mean, obviously you guys saw, or many of you saw, the shorts, and if you haven't, go and check them out. So you do get a pretty good idea of, what that experience was like, kind of from my eyes, for little snippets throughout the weekend. Initially, when I got into Gen Con, I didn't really know what to expect. I went back in 2017, and honestly, it was I showed up, I got my stuff, and basically just showed up for the Heroscape events. There was probably about 30, maybe 40 people at most. It was super busy. I didn't really know where to find the Heroscape section. There weren't really any banners or signs, and so it was kind of it was a great experience, but it was kind of just felt like any other game out there. When I guess in terms of covering initial reactions, when I showed up to the convention center, I was blown away. I was absolutely blown away by what I saw, and quite literally what I saw was I walked in, and the first thing I noticed was thousands of people walking around, and they were all carrying those GenCon tote bags that they give out for free at all these different things, and Heroscape was plastered all over these tote bags. And so I was just like, whoa, okay, that's cool. That's really neat. I mean, we've got, these tote bags everyone's carrying around. And as I'm walking, I'm hearing people, like, talking about Heroscape, right? I mean, they're carrying the freaking bag. And so that was my first initial reaction. One of the first things I noticed was, wow, like, that's cool. And second reaction was, as I'm going to find Heroscape, I go into the dealer hall, and prime real estate, everyone, 75,000 people there this weekend. Everyone goes through the same doors at the dealer hall. Renegade booth, not just the Renegade booth, but the Heroscape Renegade booth was right through the doors on your right. Everyone had to pass it. And so, again,
massive banners too.
Yeah, massive banners. Exactly. Not everyone finds it. It's not hard to see. And so, like, again, we'll cover more things as we experience this weekend. But like, my initial reaction was, whoa, like, okay, like, I know where Heroscape is. Everyone knows where Heroscape is. Also, everyone knows Heroscape is here at GenCon because of the tote bags and signs and stuff. And so, I'll let Michael share kind of some of his experience as well, and we'll kind of keep this thing going. But that was my first kind of initial reaction. So.
Yeah, this is my first time going to GenCon, so I didn't really know what to expect other than it was huge, Yeah. But yeah, I was like, wow, Heroscape's everywhere. This is so cool, Which I didn't have that comparison to before when it wasn't as advertised, just coming in and walking around. But like, there is huge, and then they had a room for it, and then they had the event area, and then their booth had huge Renegade, like, hanging down from in the dealer hall, hanging down from the roof. Like, you could find Renegade easy. And it was just amazing to see how much marketing was going on around it just there. Like, if you didn't know what it was, you'd be asking about it. And then, like, I think Flash helped design some of their
the display maps
exhibit of the display map, and it had like hundreds of 24x tiles, and it was this huge thing. So like, when people walk around, you see that stack, it's like, whoa, what is going on here? And it was really cool just to see people like wide open, and a lot of people like, oh, Heroscape's back? That's so awesome. And you would hear people talking about it and excited that it's back, and they're like, hey, how do I get into this?
Yeah, I was like, so, well, I didn't even know Flash did that until I think Lee jumped on Discord and said, hey, thanks, Flash, or she was like, I wasn't cursing your name while I was building this. It took them like 3 or 4 hours to set up, and so, like, I was like, oh, that's cool, like, that they, went to Flash, who's kind of well-known among the community for being one of our best map makers, he's able to do some display designs for them, which was really cool. But yeah, I mean, when you go into that dealer hall and see those maps set up, again, you don't have to know what Heroscape is to be impressed, right? Like, one of the most impressive things about Heroscape is the eye candy, is the pop, is the, whoa, what is that? The head turns or the double takes, right? It's because no other miniature game has the terrain system that does what Heroscape does. And so when you're trying to, get people to get into a game, you have to be able to get them to stop, look at it, ask questions. And Heroscape does that with just building a map, right? And so that was, again, also something that I thought was really impressive, was not only the dealer hall having the massive maps, but when you actually had where they were doing the tournaments, I mean, they literally had, 10, 12 tables set up nonstop with all these, maps set out for Gen Con, because, I mean, we had 80 to 100 people at our biggest event, so really, really cool. So initial reactions, I was kind of blown away by just how much marketing they put into this. Oh, and actually, on that point, so for those of you that haven't been to Gen Con, they also do the space in Lucas Oil Stadium. Now, Lucas Oil Stadium is across the way from the Indianapolis Convention Center, and that has tons of, I mean, it's literally a football stadium, right? So they fill all that space with other games, and within that space, you naturally have a Jumbotron. Well, Heroscape had marketing ads up on the freaking Jumbotron. Now, I don't know how many of you know how much that costs, but it is not cheap. So not only did they have, cool posters and setups, but they had ads up on the Jumbotron. They had massive. I can't remember if you mentioned it. The massive banners going down the escalator.
Yeah, we did like the escalator. You go up and down 5 times.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We won't talk about that.
Good luck.
Yeah,
it was
so
not good. It was not good.
yeah. I just had to keep seeing it. Yeah. Well, actually, no, and I did do the short on that. So I did show in the short, but yeah, the banner, right? You were going down the escalator, and that's huge banner, right, of Heroscape. So, and as I was doing that, people were like, "Oh yeah, Heroscape's back," right? And it's just like, it's getting in people's view. It's getting in people's minds, right? It's bringing back that childhood because it's been gone for 14 years officially, right? And so you just had a lot of excitement. You had a lot of new players. You had a lot of people coming out of the woodwork, and it was just really, really cool. So.
On those statues.
Oh yeah, gosh. I mean, yeah. So yeah, you want to talk about that? We talked to the Renegade people about that.
I held Raylan's hand. So
yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, we do have proof. We do have proof.
Huge statues. We talked to the owner a little bit about the statues, and those statues took like 6 months to build and design and to sculpt, and they said they came in pieces, and they had like. I don't know, 6 or so people putting it together because it's so big and heavy. But it was, I don't know, with the wings, it's probably 10 feet tall or taller. It was huge.
Yeah.
It was super awesome and intimidating.
Yeah.
The Loviatok, like, with her big battle axe.
Yeah, it looks so cool. Yeah. So that was, I mean, and again, talking about the impressiveness, the initial reactions, like, so based off of that experience, my thought was like, wow, this is kind of like back in the day when Heroscape was first coming to GenCon, right? When you see those early pictures of 2005, 2006 of when they made these massive maps and these big, showy, banners and stuff and got all these people excited. The same thing Renegade was doing this year round was investing so much money and effort into just getting people to see Heroscape, to get in front of, a statue, to get in front of a map, to get in front of banners, to have a bag. And you don't make that kind of investment unless you're serious about a product. And so that just in and of itself made me kind of blown away. So for those of you out there, wondering if Heroscape's back, yeah, no, it's back. it's back, and the reception of it at GenCon was massive. So like something that was really impressive was Renegade sold out of painted master sets within 3 hours. They couldn't sell anymore to people who wanted it. On Thursday morning when GenCon opened the dealer hall, so at 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., in the afternoon, 3-hour block, all of the painted master sets they brought to buy were sold out. So obviously, you had people having to buy unpainted or other battle boxes or whatnot, but I mean, that in and of itself is just kind of floors me, right? I mean, when you think about just how much product they're bringing to sell over an entire weekend, they sold out in 3 hours. So take that what you will.
What's exciting to me about that means that many more players are coming.
Yeah.
Like, that's a ton of more players coming into the fold, playing Heroscape.
Yeah. Yeah. And, that was, that kind of, I mean, I've always known Heroscape's been something that people want and people are excited about and people get blown away by. But the fact that many people, again, pre-orders have been open for months, right? And honestly, the marketing outside of GenCon itself has been, being pushed, and they've gotten, like the Matt Mercer video and just other things going on.
Yeah.
Like, people have been hearing about Heroscape for a while. I mean, a year ago they announced that they were doing this, right? That they were bringing Heroscape back. So they've been pushing the narrative that Heroscape's coming back. And even still, you had people at GenCon still buy out the product, which means a lot of those are probably new people that just heard about it, or or maybe they didn't, and maybe they just wanted to buy it at GenCon. I don't know, but generally speaking, I would imagine if you want to buy a product and you're flying in or you're driving, you probably don't want to have to burden yourself down with a ton of stuff. Now, ask Caps and Foodzing. They might disagree because they're flying home with extra luggage because they got so much product. But I guess my point is generally speaking, if you can pre-order it, to save yourself some money and time on shipping or the hassle, I feel like you will. So with that many people, buying it out, I don't know, it just kind of blew my mind. And it was exciting, again, because so many new people are probably, picking that up. So, yeah. Any other thoughts on first impressions?
No, I think that covers it. It's all of that's very exciting, and I mean, very impressive how many people were there that were new. Like, you've been in the community a long time, and a lot of the other guys that were there, like Mega Silver and Chris, is like most of the people you didn't know.
Yeah.
There were like
yeah.
so many new people, and lots of them were like, "Oh yeah, I saw that it was back, and I wanted to get back into it. I played when I was a kid." So there's a lot of just right in there at GenCon. And almost all the events we played in were like 40, 50 people until we got to the championship, and then we got up to 100.
Yeah.
So it was just a lot of people.
Yeah, it was easily the Heroscape's biggest event. And what was also really cool was, kind of like you mentioned, just the number of new faces. Like, I mean, I'm trying to think of how many people I actually played that I knew. I played Mega Silver once, Raichin once, and I want to say that was it for people that I knew that I played against, except for you in the team tournament, you and Caps. But other than that, I think most of the players I played all weekend were people that I never met, that were newer to the community, or maybe they'd been around and played a bit, but just weren't active in their local scene, right? And so that was super, super cool because, talking to them and talking about their story and how they found out about Heroscape coming back and how excited they were, was honestly invigorating, having been a member of the community for so long, and obviously knowing how awesome and cool Heroscape is for so long. It's invigorating to see people who have been away from Heroscape and being reinvigorated and re-excited, or have never been around Heroscape and are now excited. Like, there was one guy I talked to who, he's like, "Oh, you're Sir Heroscape," and I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I just found your channel yesterday and subscribed." I was like, "Oh, no way!" Like, that's super cool, Like, the dude is just getting into Heroscape and just finding content, and that was amazing. And he's at Gen Con playing in a tournament, right? There was one guy that showed up and he didn't have any of his Heroscape. He just found out about Heroscape, ran and bought a battle box or a master set, came running back, cracked that thing open, threw down some figures, and started playing in the tournament. And I was just like, that's so freaking cool, right? Like, that you can grab you can be at Gen Con, and in the future you'll be at a game store, right? You can grab a new pack off because, hey, you just found out about it or whatever. And you can tell people, hey, go buy that. It's $50 or whatever it is. It's an expansion. It's an army pack. And come back over and we'll get you in the game. Get you in the tournament, right? And so, like, that was cool. Like, that was an experience where it was like, yeah, no, like, Heroscape's back and people are excited. So, and honestly, that, kind of going into our next phase of, like, highlights, like, that was one of the highlights for me was the buzz, the excitement. It was tangible. You could feel it. And I felt like, with only a select few members of the community that have been around for a while, like, again, there's probably a handful, anywhere from 10 members of the community that we would say have been around for a while that were there, but we constantly had 50 to 60 to 70. Well, I mean, no, like, we honestly, I think every event had like 50 plus. I want to say every event over the entire weekend. So when you only have about 10 of those, a fifth of those that are probably been around for a while, like, that's super cool. So, I don't know, yeah, any other highlights or kind of things on that point?
No, I mean, kind of just moving in. I mean, it's part of it, but moving along is like the interaction and getting to know the Renegade team was really cool. And because I've been trying to keep up with the 500 message a day on the Discord and Renegade chat, but you see them talking here and there, and I'm like, oh, Trevor, and him saying this and that, but it's a completely different interaction through like Discord really than it is when you get to meet them in person. You get to shake their hand, you get to talk to them, you get to see how they run things, and it's just like, oh wow, like, these guys are really cool, and they like this game, and they're excited about it too. And so it was very exciting to see how excited they are for the game.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And that's actually a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up. Over the course of the weekend, almost every day, like, we were doing a lot of different stuff. Obviously, we did all the Heroscape events. but Scott Gata, who's the owner of Renegade, right? The big guy that's getting Heroscape back. We talked with him probably for a cumulative like 2.5-3 hours over the course of the weekend. Like he interfaced with, and it wasn't just us. Like he was actively going around talking to members of the community, old, new. He was sitting down with Mega Silver and DeRoche and us and other people, and just getting to know people and shaking hands and interfacing. And it was really, really cool to just, like you said, get to know them on a personal level, because it changes that, right? It's easy to kind of, it's easy to disassociate ourselves from people when we're on the internet, right? And to, and so what was nice was having some tough conversations too, in person. Some of the things I won't be able to talk about publicly, we'll say, but it was really cool to have that conversation in person. I'll say that, and so I really appreciated that, and I really appreciated the openness and frankness and that you can have in that kind of scenario. But overall, like your other point about them being like gamers, like Scott, like he freaking plays like World of Warcraft, right? Like he's a big old nerd, right? Like
he's a disciplined priest.
Yeah, yeah, like he's a big nerd. Like he plays games, and so like, and the people that he interfaces with across other businesses that he's involved with in Heroscape or gamers, and talking to him about kind of those relationships that he has across the industry and over the course of his career was really, really cool, because it helped provide a bigger perspective of really what their vision for Heroscape is, and really what they see as in Heroscape's success. Like, just generally speaking here, but basically, they don't see this as a 3-year game, right? Like a lot of companies that have a game, that they take on, year 1 there's excitement, year 2 people start to get used to it, year 3 it starts to peter off sometimes, right? And so a lot of games kind of go through this kind of 3-year arc, right? And you kind of ride that arc, you make your money, and things kind of continue, but it doesn't really go anywhere after that sometimes. But what was really impressive was they were talking about Heroscape, and our conversation was, we're talking about Heroscape as a leader in the industry, right? That they believe that this game is going to be a leader in the miniature gaming industry, similar to the Warhammers and the Pathfinders, like these other games that have D&D, right? D&D just hit its 50th anniversary. Like these games have been around for decades, and a big part of that is the strength of the community and the building of community and how you interact with the game and the people that you're playing it with. And there's a strong belief, not just with Scott, but other Renegade, employees that I was talking to there as well, that they're big nerds as well, and they're committed to this thing. I mean, they're killing themselves to get some of this stuff out there, and it was really, really cool to just talk about that in an open setting with him in person. So
yeah, it was really cool, and the sneak peek was super awesome too.
Yeah,
and we shared a lot of things too, personally, as like the Renegade team members, of like where they came from, and some of them, like Lee, where she came from, was like she was working on impressive, awesome games, but she loved Heroscape so much, she's like, I gotta get in there somehow, and got on the team because she wants Heroscape. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm just here and it just happens to be doing this. Like, she loves it, she wants it.
Lee's awesome.
Yeah, everybody knows that.
Yeah.
But that sneak peek was so cool to see what's coming next year. Like, so exciting to see the vision of all the characters, which, they're getting through all the Avalon Hill stuff, and then they have some works for, like, the common squads, and we all know we love common squads. Yeah,
and honestly, like, a lot of next year, well, I mean, and all that stuff I talked about in my preview video, so if you haven't seen it, go and see it on the channel. I do talk about more specifics about actual, like, everything that they're going to be doing. But a lot of what they're doing next year in terms of, like, terrain and stuff is fairly simple, right? It's like kind of re-releasing some of the terrain packs in terms of, like, lava, snow, road, and whatnot, right? And so I think that's very intentional. I think the intentionality is provide Heroscapers with, again, the terrain that they want and need, and to expand their maps without having to go
replace the brittle pieces.
Yeah, to replace the brittle pieces and without having to go and buy the original stuff for $300 or whatever, right? And so that was really really cool to see. Like, they're kind of prioritizing, hey, let's get those normal standard terrain packs back out. And I think after 2025 we're going to see some really creative ideas and really creative things, because talking with Scott again and some of the designers, Alex Davey, who's there, they're really thinking about things in terms of creativity. Like, right now it's still kind of releasing what was done, like Avalon Hill stuff, releasing kind of the terrain packs, getting stuff out there, getting Heroscape in game stores, getting it out to the community. But after that kind of initial wave of getting it out, now it's, okay, let's get creative. Let's do things we've never thought of. Let's push the envelope. Let's try something new and cool. And at the end of the day, like, if they come out with some sort of tree house, they don't have to use that in competitive, right? We can have a tree house and have fun with it at home, right? Like, I think there's some really cool things. Like, if you want to do a water battle, like, the water packs is interesting. Like, it's going to replace your water, but, like, it'd be kind of cool if they came up with some sort of, like, ship, like an actual, like, water, and do, like, water battles or something. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, you can just kind of, I mean, I did custom stuff like that at home. I created a big old castle and a ship, and, you can do, big old water that you just change the water rules for, and there's just cool things you can do, right? So, like, I'm not saying that that's necessarily what they're going to do, but when you kind of are in the position where Heroscape is successful, and you see it being as successful as it is and has been and will continue to be, that allows you to kind of have the freedom of doing really anything. I mean, as far as your imagination can take you. So, seeing the 2025 preview and talking to Scott about some of those ideas was really cool. So yeah, so big highlights.
Yeah.
So now we're about halfway through. I didn't want to go too crazy in terms of spending 2 hours talking about a review. A lot of you, it's late, and so we're going to try and keep this to another 20-25 minutes here. But we want to give a good, solid review on some of the concerns that the community had. So we're going to continue to be positive as we positively can, but naturally there are some heavier subjects that we want to address, and I think that's important, right? Because we did talk to Scott and others there at GenCon about some of these things, and so being open and honest about that, I think, is important. So we'll just start off again, kind of the three topics that, and we'll kind of cover these, as we get to them. But one of the three things that I felt like the community had struggled with was they felt like Renegade didn't care. The second thing was Tala, obviously, and then the third thing was the competitive rules, right? Official dice, official cards, price point changes, right? So we're going to kind of cover all that. So to start us off, the issue or the concern that Renegade doesn't care. Now, that's pretty broad, and I've seen a ton on Discord and a lot of conversations among, Heroscapers and with me personally, or just, messages or on Discord about what that really means, because that's, again, pretty vague. But I do want to say that I kind of agreed in some instances of that prior to GenCon. Like, there were parts where I was kind of like, okay, like, I can see why Heroscapers feel that way, and maybe they're right. But after GenCon, and kind of to your point, Michael, about interfacing directly with them, I never got that sense. And I really, truly felt like having honest conversations about these topics with these individuals really, really helped kind of make me realize, like, they're in our corner. And they admittedly know that they're going to screw up and that they have screwed up. And they admitted to that, right? There's mistakes that have been made. And I really appreciated that honesty, because while maybe publicly it's sometimes not advantageous or doesn't make sense to, release a public apology for XYZ, in person, people can admit they're human and they make mistakes. And if you know that on a personal level with someone, then it's easier to trust them that way. And so it's hard for us, again, being disassociated with them, seeing them on Discord and only seeing official posts, about changes they're making, it's really hard to kind of accept that. But now that we've built relationships, I think it's going to be easier at the community, and that not just me, but like again, members of the community that were out there, right? We had a lot of members there that have been around for a long time that had the opportunity to talk with members of the Renegade, and I think building those strong relationships is going to help us going forward. And so I just want
both ways too. So
yeah,
they're going to trust the community members more now that they've interacted with them, and we can trust them more too, because there's a relationship now that's been made personally.
Yeah, yeah, and you were there for a lot of those conversations. So I mean, you know, maybe share some of your thoughts on that, because I mean, everyone has a little bit different perspective, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like me personally, like I said, I kind of have a lot of business mindset background, and I've worked with dozens of manufacturers, and the common theme that happens a lot with them is like, until you really build that relationship, and it sometimes takes 6 months to a year to build a good relationship with a manufacturer, and I'm selling their stuff for them. I was selling their trailers. That's what I did, you know, and it's like there'd be big problems sometimes. Almost every trailer had a problem, and they're big ticket items, and sometimes sharing the stuff with them, it was a little tough. But after, you know, we built a relationship, then they started going, okay, yeah, let's talk more serious about these things, and then things got better and fixed things. But the common theme with all business is it's all people, and they all really do care about what they're doing, and we all make mistakes, but everybody wants it to be the best it can be. And you could clearly see that Renegade it's people, and they want the best for Heroscape, because that's good for them too, because they love it and they want to succeed, and them succeeding is us succeeding, because we want Heroscape to last longer and never die again.
Yeah. So that'd be my first community note there on community concern number one. Again, it's just like I kind of agreed with some of the points that community members were making prior to GenCon, but I kind of kept my mind open to the fact that like sometimes we don't have all the information, and so it was really good, and not all of us can go to GenCon and have that experience. And so I understand that I'm not going to convince everyone, and some people might say I'm a shill because they got him. They got Sir Heroscape. No, right? No. And I'm like, well,
they gave him a prize.
Yeah, right. They gave him a prize. No, they paid him off. It's like, well, okay, no, but no, it was good. It was good. I can say that, you know, I think there will continue to be mistakes, because we're human, and because I think the business decisions don't always align with community desires or decisions that we want. I think that will continue to just be there's going to always be friction there, right? I think with any product, with a strong, passionate community, the business side is always going to struggle with that. Now, in a perfect world, the community members are also part of the business. Honestly, that's a bit of a pipe dream. I mean, with Avalon Hill, we were very fortunate that was even like a reality. Unfortunately, that actually, and business-wise, the business side is working amazing, and it's great. So I think we take our wins where we can get them, and the truth is Heroscape's back, and Renegade's it's on tables, right? It's out there. People have it. It's in their hands. So so they do care, and so we'll leave it at that. On the second item, the Tala, that is a big controversy, and that blew up bigger than I would have expected, and it was kind of funny. I can say that when I was talking to Scott, I wanted to ask him, and I just said, hey, like, did I ruin your day? And he's like, well, yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't fun. So, needless to say, they're obviously aware, right? They're obviously aware that it wasn't perfect. There were some imperfections there. I don't think I'm able to say specifically the reasons why or what happened in terms of why the mistake was made. So I won't share that publicly. but I do know what.
And it's one of those kind of honest mistakes. Like it wasn't like anything intentional. It was probably I'm trying to make this better, but it made it a mistake. So
right. Yep. No, and that's a great way to put it. Yeah. So like, not malicious, right? Not trying to cut corners. Not a Renegade quality assurance issue type of thing. So I don't know. I mean, I won't go into any more detail, but basically, was relieving to me to have that conversation with Scott. What's also relieving is that I played on these maps all weekend long, and the truth is it's still playable. Like, it can be an issue. It's true when you're building maps and you're building big maps and they're throwing it off by a slight margin. But a lot of these tournament maps, for the most part, the jungle is, sitting on an edge where maybe it's raised a little bit, maybe it's off a little bit, but the structure of the map is secure. And I felt
if you drop it in after you build around, it doesn't throw it off.
Yeah, no, exactly, and that was the other piece, and so if you're building, a hex right here, kind of like a semicircle, where the jungle is supposed to go here, if you start with the jungle and then you build the hexes around it, it will throw it off because the jungle, as we showed in my video, kind of throws things off. But when you build the hexes first and you drop the jungle on top, it just sits a millimeter above on the hex. So again, is it perfect? No. Is it workable? Absolutely. And so that was something that I was trying to be very cognizant of during the weekend. Was I'm playing on every single one of these maps. When I'm hitting these maps, like when I'm hitting the jungle, is the jungle falling over? Is it insecure? When I'm playing on the map,
bears into those jungles all the time.
Yeah, right. We frost claws all weekend long are smashing into those things, and they were fine. And one the other thing too is like as you're moving next to them, is it raised so high that it's causing issues? And again, if you look really close, it is noticeable. We proved that. Is it functionally an issue while you're playing the game? No. And so that, I think, was a concern for players when I first did my review was, is this going to change the game so that I cannot play with the things I purchased? And again, after a full weekend of playing on 50 maps built with this stuff, that's just not the case. It's workable. That said, we had a conversation with Renegade, and they're aware of it, and that's something that they're going to be fixing. Or, well, I can't even remember if I'm not going to put words in Scott's mouth. I actually can't remember if that was something that he promised or said. Even if he did, I'm not even sure that's public information, so we'll just leave it at that. I think they are aware, and so if they are aware of it and they're smart, I think they will make the correction in future runs of the terrain. But again, full review out there on the Tala. I was pleasantly surprised that it was not changing how my games were being played, and I was still happy with it, right? So that's gonna be it for me. Other than anything you have on that, Michael, on the Tala side. So
no. You covered it good.
Yeah, I'll wash my hands of it, and unfortunately, there will still be those who, again, are not happy with the product or the review, and I just say, I'm sorry. All I can say is I've played on a whole weekend of that stuff, and that's my opinion. So hopefully you guys aren't too scared away from that review. But anyway, on to the third one. How are we doing on time? Actually, we're doing great on time, so this is awesome. We're keeping things going. So the third one was really the competitive changes and issues. Now, this is going to be a little bit mixed review for me. I'll actually let you start, Michael, and then I'll kind of share some of my thoughts because I have a bit more of a mixed review on this. But basically, talking about official cards, right? Official order markers, dice, the changing of point costs, the rule changes, things like that. So that's kind of speaking to that.
For me personally, since I just started, I literally had 0 figures, but I 3D print, so I was like, cool. I just 3D printed everything. I'm like, I'm all ready for GenCon. And then I found out that you had to have official figures. And I was like, oh no, nothing I have works. But then I was like, well, everybody says the community's awesome and I can borrow stuff. And I got everything I needed borrowed. And then some of the other formats used AOA stuff. And actually, the best unique format used AOA stuff. So
Yep.
it ended up being, I didn't need to borrow too much stuff. So, like, my initial was like, oh man, what am I even going to do? I'm so in trouble. But it worked out. And I get it. Because, like, what if somebody 3D prints things a little smaller or a little bigger or, like, unofficial in a way, and it could create a problem for somebody down the road, you know? I've heard the nightmares of tournaments where people did something off and made a big deal about it, and it ruins the fun, right? So, like, avoiding that possibility with the official cards, with the official dice, like, having those official things avoids potential problems, you know? And as Heroscape gets bigger, international or whatever, like, there's going to be more people, and there might be way more competitive people, and they're not going to be as chill as the community is, you know? And they might throw a fit if something happened like that where they thought something was off and not official, you know? So it's like one of those barrier things that protects problems in the future. So I mean, that's kind of how I see it, but, you know, it was a little tough at first trying to figure that out.
Yeah, no, and rightly so. Like, I wasn't particularly looking forward to rolling my, old dice, and luckily I have Valkyrie dice, so they're not as bad as the old stuff. And so I rolled the Valkyrie dice, but even then, like, it's been years since I've rolled Valkyrie dice regularly, so I was like, I don't like Valkyrie dice. I like my nice custom dice. They just fit better in the hand. And so, anyway, there was definitely some, ruffled feathers, we'll say, around that. So my review is that, for the most part, like, I wasn't jazzed about that, but what was cool was, over the course of the weekend, it was noticeable that there were several players throughout the course of the weekend at events that did actually have custom dice, that didn't know about these rule changes. They did have order markers that weren't official. They did have cards that weren't official. They had, one guy wrote down a card on a piece of paper. There was, just unofficial figures as well. We had some people using 3D prints. And what I liked about that was that I think the intention is, as you were kind of saying, there should be a rule. But no one was getting disqualified. No judges were coming around and saying, hey, that's not an official card, get out, right? Hey, that figure is a 3D print, get out. Hey, those dice are custom, get out. And that was kind of our concern as a community. We're like, what, so you're just going to kick people out because they don't have dice or whatever? And no, I don't think that's the intention. I think the intention is people want to play Heroscape, let them play, right? Now, does that mean everyone gets to bring all the unofficial stuff? No, I think the intention is still, we would like you to bring all the official stuff, but if someone shows up and doesn't know that, we're still going to let them play, right? And I think that was what I got from that, because it would have created issues if you had a new guy come in like, hey, I got these custom dice, I didn't realize, and then we're like, nope, get out, sorry, you can't play, right? Like, that would have just looked really, really bad. And so I think
one of the things, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I think they understand that, right? And so clearly they're not. That wasn't being enforced.
Yeah, and
during
there was a guy too that I was checking out his army before a game started, and I was like, that's a lot of points with the new point change. Did you hear about the point change? Unfortunately, he hadn't heard about it.
Yeah.
And some people didn't. And so they started announcing as well before any game to make sure there's some time. But the cool thing that happened was he didn't have the right amount of points, and now he's like, I didn't bring any extra figures. So then Renegade stepped in and opened a box up and gave him some stuff to borrow.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that. So they opened a box for him to have him use that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He didn't have enough figures, so he's like, I needed something different.
So he didn't even borrow it from a member of the community. Renegade cracked open a new box and said, hey, here you go.
Yeah, so it was cool to see, like, they stepped in to help with that because he didn't hear about it.
Wow.
So I was like, that was cool to see, too.
Yeah.
So, and again, don't bring unofficial things, but they didn't disqualify anybody that did.
Right. Right. Yeah. No. And so I think that will continue to be a little bit of a pain point with the community. Again, I'm not jazzed about it. I think as time goes on, we'll start to get used to it. And hopefully, and I do actually not hopefully, I'm pretty confident they're going to be doing accessories, official accessories like custom dice, order markers and all kinds of cool jazzy things like that. So like, yeah, initially I think, yeah, exactly, cool yeah. Like, initially I think,
pins we got were
yeah,
pretty sweet. Pins.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
these Heroscape pins.
They like that stuff, so like they want to. And I had conversations with a couple of them where we were talking about different accessories and things that like they want to do this custom stuff because it's fun. It's fun to have those special things to play with.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So I think in terms of the point costs, like it definitely did impact a couple people, right? And we kind of knew it would, right? The communication wasn't great. In fact, we could even say it was pretty bad from Renegade, and hopefully they are aware of that and have received enough feedback to not make that mistake in the future, because those point cost changes don't just affect the competitive community, right? Like for us, it's kind of like, oh, well, that's annoying. I have to go back and make some changes. But for people just showing up, right, which is what happened, that really does impact them to their detriment. Or people that, maybe bought the ticket months ago, aren't on Discord, don't know anything about really the community, but want to participate in Heroscape, and then they don't realize it. So, like, there's definitely things Renegade could have done to improve upon that by a long shot. And the battle network, for the most part, was workable this weekend, right? Like, there's still, things around that can be improved. And so, this was...
It was cool though, the guy that runs the BattleNet.
Oh yeah, the actual software. Yeah.
He was he flew out and was there all day.
Yeah, well the CEO, did you get to talk to him, Chris? The CEO?
Yeah. Like he was there helping and fixing things and making sure things were, and then having conversations with like Chris and Mega Silver about how to make it better.
Yeah.
So, and they did, and apparently it sounded like it was a tall order too, because it was like, you have 6 months, and you're software people, which we know takes longer than that, but get it done.
Yep.
And they made something work.
Yeah.
It wasn't perfect, but and a lot of things are like that when you first start using it. It's just figuring out all the little ways you want it to work. Like here's .org is amazing, and it does everything that everybody wants to do, but it's developed over years, right? Like year one wasn't probably. It wasn't as amazing as it is now, but now it has everything everybody wants.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I would say overall, just I think in terms of some of the community concerns, some of those are still around, some of those are still valid. But I also felt very relieved after this weekend. I felt really encouraged by Renegade's effort, by Renegade's involvement, and just kind of moving on to kind of a closing conversation here. Overall experience this weekend was incredible. Like, Renegade destroyed it this weekend when it came to, like, getting hype for Heroscape. Like, I did not do it justice with my shorts and stuff, because I was kind of doing in-between rounds, not during the rounds, but Renegade literally probably gave out, we estimated, who knows, like maybe 10K, like I don't know, it was thousands and thousands of dollars of product giveaways. Like, I couldn't
every
believe.
Single round was several boxes.
Yeah,
and in
master
the
sets,
last day
painted
on
master
Sunday,
sets.
we did the team one, and they gave away 4 boxes each round, so almost everybody that played almost got something.
Yeah, I know. By the way, I was like one of the only teams that didn't get it, so like whatever. I was like,
I did win some stuff. So
yeah. No, it was kind of funny. I was like, it's okay. I've got plenty. But no, it was incredible. Like, it was so cool. I mean, you had every round of every tournament them being like, hey, here's a free painted master set. Boom. Hey, here's a battle box. Hey, here's this. Hey, here's this. Like, non-stop, right? And it was, like you said, Sunday, hey, you guys have been here all week. We want to give this stuff to you. and they just like dumped it on everybody. Like it was like, whoa, this is crazy. Like this, I mean, they're literally just giving us like tons of free product, and it was cool because like they had some people again who were new to the game who had just found out about it winning their master set. Like what? You had some people who were like a 10-year-old kid. Like it was cool. There was a few kids there, and it was like Christmas for them because they're playing their game. And then it was a raffle, and then boom, this kid gets a master set in his lap. It's like so cool, and then the paint masters. They had the paint masters that they were giving away.
Original ones.
Yeah, and I got one of those, so that was really cool. It's the bear. It's the Frost Claw bear with his arms up like this, like I'm gonna smash ya. You know, so I was able to win one of those, which was really cool. But I mean, just the fact that they're even giving those away is awesome, right? So yeah, it was just. Like, overall, the feeling was just like, wow, something big is about to happen. Like,
yeah. And talking with them, their vision for the future, it feels big. Like, next GenCon, it's like, it sounds like it's going to be massive. You know, Worlds, you know. Shout out to Chris. He's going to Worlds for sure.
Yeah. He qualified by winning the championship, yeah.
But like there's a world championship, and we had 100 people for this. Hey, it's coming back.
Right.
And to get a spot, you know, I mean, and most of the people were new people. You know, there was 10, 15 of like dedicated scapers. The rest was all new people.
Yeah.
That hadn't been seen, and there's 100 or so. So like next year. Well, I don't know how many people are going to be there for that. It's got to be double, triple, I don't know.
Yeah.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, I mean, who knows where this goes from here, right? Like, the hype is real. I mean, so, something to keep in mind is, like, despite bad things happening, or concerns, or feedback, or, you know, this, that, and the other, like, Heroscape's back. Like, let's just, like, actually think about that for a second. Like, it's been a whole year since it was announced, and that entire time we've still kind of felt like, oh, well, maybe it won't actually happen. Like, oh, well, it's, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like, no. Like, I have packs over here. I have boxes of new Heroscape. Like, it's here. Like, it's printed. Stores are getting it. It's, like, people have it in their hands. It's at their houses. No, it's back. Like, and that was, like, it kind of, like, sunk in this week. And I was like, whoa, like, it's officially here. Like, it's finally here again. And I think everyone was kind of getting that feeling this weekend. And that was super exciting to be a part of. Was just kind of that hype, that overall just, like, excitement that this thing has been revitalized. And so, like you were saying, who knows where this goes from here? Like, we just don't know. Like, this is the flash in the pan, right? Like, this is the trigger point. This is the beginning of, I think, something pretty special. We're going to see some pretty special things coming over the next year. So,
oh, yeah. I'm excited. Very excited. It's the time to get in. But if you haven't been playing, time to get back in.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously. Well, speaking of which, if you're planning on buying and you haven't bought already, it's our Heroscape affiliate link. It's in, like, the description of all my videos. So this is live. I don't have it up. You can go find it. I don't really, promote it as a, go do it, spend all your money on me. That's not how it is. It's more, if you're already going to buy Heroscape and you feel like you want to support the channel, by all means, I would appreciate using the Sir Heroscape affiliate link, but not a requirement by any means. So I'll end with I guess. Well, I mean, I had some final thoughts. Any final thoughts for you, Michael?
I mean, we've talked a lot. I think it's covered. Like, it's exciting. It's back, and everybody cares about it, and it's gonna be big. It's gonna be big.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me just skim the chats here. I'm not seeing too many crazy questions. We actually had a lot of engagement. We've had over roughly 45 people max here watching. So for those of you that are in the chats that are listening to this, maybe we'll just give you a couple minutes to throw some questions in and cover those before we close this out. We're just over an hour, so hitting pretty good time. But if you've got any other questions for us on our experience this weekend, yeah, by all means, would love to hear any questions in the chat, and we can maybe try and field some of those. For the most part, well, actually, here's one. Gunnar Boag. Which characters were most common at the tourney? Which ones were hardly played with? I think we know the answer. Let's let Michael answer that, because I know exactly what he's gonna say.
It wasn't the Frostclaws.
Yeah, Frostclaws weren't played at all, were they? Yeah, Frostclaws are trash.
The Frostclaws killed you.
Yeah, they're D. Frostclaws are D, right? Like.
Yeah, no kidding. And Alistair with Frostclaws, that was it.
Yeah,
and
that was
Cross.
Really, really bad. Yeah, that's a really bad build.
Yeah, never run it in the unique only.
Yeah, never run that. Yeah, no, actually, so funny thing. I'll just say it out for all of you that want to have a tip about uniques. Just run Frostclaws. It sucks because like that's all you're gonna see in the uniques format from here on out.
Yeah.
They're just freaking good. In a uniques format, they're A tier. Like, they're the best.
Oh, for sure.
But,
and then when their brother bears come out?
Oh, yeah, or Borealis, like, harpooners, yeah. You guys, it's going to be so broken in uniques. Everyone's going to be praying Frostclaws for a while. So, I mean, they're going to have to design, one, and they do have, they'll have other designs, obviously. So, like, things will be balanced eventually, but right now, the Frostclaws are the AOA unit. They're the best for sure.
Definitely.
Cool.
That 2 life always came into play too, which is very interesting.
Yeah, no, yeah, it is.
Like,
yeah.
You're like 2 life. When's that gonna happen? Oh, 1 hat. And then we put our little wounds on top of their head like a hat.
Yeah.
So it was kind of.
I know it was funny. Like, it was awful trying to throw it on the base because you're trying to move the figure. But like just sticking it as a little hat on their head worked actually pretty great, and it was kind of cute. You're kind of like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you'd hat the bears all the time because they just happened to get that.
Yeah.
1, and then they hit you back for 3.
Okay. Did Renegade announce when the pre-orders are going to ship out? Yeah, I think that was announced a while ago. I think August 28th or something like that.
8th-ish is where.
Yeah,
I don't think it was like set in stone, but
yeah, it's late August. Yep. So, let's see. How do you think the new figures were integrate with original Heroscape? James Bush. They integrated fine, honestly. I mean, Age of Annihilation felt, just like natural Heroscape. I think. Yeah. I didn't have any issues. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like with the different integration, like Alistair's a good match with the bears.
Yeah, cross synergies. Well, I guess not cross.
Yeah, there's a lot of good cross, and then you have a new dwarf, which he's pretty good with that, giving dwarfs extra movement if you do bonding with dwarfs at 100 points. So like, there's a bunch of different guys that I think will match in some new builds too with them. Mm-hmm. Death Knight's evil Raylan.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do some battle videos of that because
all right.
Freaking awesome.
Oh, you're rolling 0 every time I attack you. That's nice.
Actually, technically it's -1, but we'll say 0. Yeah, because like with Raylan and them, it's -3, and like that's just so ridiculous. It's bonkers. Okay, so we've got Vinny McKinnon. What new unit coming from the 2025 arcs are you most excited for? The Great Bow archers looked freaking cool. I really like archers, and again, because it's called Great Bow, I really think it's going to be a large squad, like a Goliath squad where like it's bigger miniatures, maybe not giant size, but maybe kind of like an ogre size. Not ogres because it looked more humanoid.
You think it'll be huge category or large?
No. I think it could be large because it's called Great Bow Archers, and again, like a small medium figure with a great bow doesn't sound correct. Like it would just be called a long bow or like a composite bow. But Great Bow is like, man, if we got some large common squads again, like I really like large common squads. It's so cool. Like they usually have really cool designs. So those look really cool.
I thought I heard somebody, it's not probably for sure, but I thought I heard somebody say that the crabs could be beast, and if they're beast, that's a common squad that could bond. I mean, with a lot of different things. But what would be cool is with Awashia, and then you have a common squad with Awashia.
What does her card say? Common card? Does it say, or does it say beast card?
Awashia, I have it over there. It says it's bond with a small or medium beast.
Not hero? Now I gotta look. Now you're making me look this up.
I could be wrong.
Heroscape, Awashia. Right. If you're wrong...
After revealing an order marker on Awashia, before taking Awashia's turn, you may take a turn with a small or medium beast you control.
Huh. Wow. That's interesting. So, that's going to create some really weird rules issues, I'll be honest. Maybe not. Maybe not. I was going to say because you're taking a turn with a common figure, but not the whole squad.
Or would that just be one then? So maybe
it wouldn't be it wouldn't be the whole squad because it denotes figure. So like if there were beast squads, I don't think that would be.
Yeah. So it might not really do anything. I was excited for a second.
Well, no, I mean like I don't know the rule behind that. Honestly, that's an interaction that like someone like Scytale and the C3B and on the Heroscape community would have to chime in on, like because clearly if there's a common squad or a unique squad that is a beast, technically it sounds like you could do that, but and I don't know that there's any rule that would say you couldn't because it denotes a figure. It doesn't denote what type of figure, and so I think you just one squad figure. That would be pretty interesting. So that's cool. Let's see. Let's jump into this. We'll try and cover a few more questions here before we close out. Maybe just 5 more minutes or something. Let's see. Thoughts on new AOA versus OG or the congruence? Honestly, Dark Tankerous, so far, really good. I mean, the fact that Frost Claws, a new AOA unit, are top tier, I think is cool, right? Like, you've got new competitive players playing the new stuff, right? I mean, if they were bad, it would be really sad to see top players not play them and not be excited to play them, but Frost Claws quite literally were the championship unit, right? And they were good, quite good, and it was cool, and I liked it, and so, liked it. There was something exhausting about playing against Frost Claws for the whole weekend.
20 rounds.
Yeah. but yeah, no, it was good. Let's see. Got some of the comments here. Any of the questions? It looks. Let's see. I want to know how much the new Sonlin costs. Oh well, I mean we don't know. Probably. We do know he's in a pack with. He's in an army pack with Halushia. So Sonlin and Halushia will be in the same army pack next year. So 2 figures.
They'll probably.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hard to speculate, but.
I mean, I don't know. Two unique figures. Hopefully not 65. That's so far our army packs have been 65. So if you're giving me a 2-figure box, please keep it reasonable. Down to, I don't know. I'd probably pay 35, 30, something like that. I don't know, but anyway, let's see any of the questions I want to know. Let's see. Were there any units you were surprised you didn't see get played? Surprised I didn't see get played. I was surprised Zenithrax didn't get more play, and only because the figure is so intimidating and cool. It's a big old mini. So, like, I kind of expected more of the new players to be like, oh, Big Dragon, let's play Big Dragon, right? But I'm also slightly not surprised because as a competitive player, I knew that she wasn't very good, or generally speaking, it was going to be hard to make her work in the current formats.
Especially in the unique format. Then it was like, I have one guy against your 4 Frost Bears, so.
And you just spread the Frost Bears out, and then she doesn't do anything. So, like, it was kind of like expected, and additionally, the miniature is insanely hard to make fit in the map in so many spots. Like, I will say a bad review for that mini is, I don't know who designed it that way, but they were not designing it to fit on a Heroscape map. So if it's someone I know personally, I'm just calling you out because I think it's a terrible miniature design.
It works on the Rise of Valkyrie only map.
Yeah, right, where there's literally no obstacles, flat. Yes. If it, like, again, very intimidating, looks really cool, the pose is even cool, but, like, there's definitely things you could have done to make it fit. Like, you just move the tail a little bit more up off the floor, right? You make the wings, I don't know. Anyway, we don't need to get into it.
I mean, it'll be interesting to try her out maybe a little bit, like, in a normal format and try doing with green scales or something.
Yeah.
And, like, see how well she does there, because then she can have 4 defense, and you can also, you know, protect her more. She's got 8 life, though. That's a lot of life to have to go through, and 6 attack, and so she can still get multiple attacks. So it just depends what you fight, but it'll be interesting to try to play her in some of those, but it's probably not, you're not going to top Nilfheim, but...
Yeah, that's going to be tough to do, for sure. But we'll see. Who knows? Maybe they'll just start making OP stuff. Speaking of which, do you know how good Major Q11 will be? No idea, but if there's any indication of what Craig Van Ness said to me, I think that we're going to have some good units. For the 2.0 versions, at least the ones that were announced by Avalon Hill. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I was talking to him on Sunday, or maybe it was Saturday. We were just talking about the 2.0 versions because I was curious, like, where was the original intention to do, you know, like, all the heroes or whatnot. And I think the overall intention was just see how it goes, right? Just kind of do a few, see how it's received. But he kind of laughed because we didn't release the Solomon, or they didn't release the Solomon card, and he kind of laughed and was just saying how he's like, yeah, we might have overdone it on some of those 2.0 versions. We were having too much fun. So I was just kind of like, wait, what? What are you talking about? Like, you didn't release the Solomon card. Can you tell me? And he wouldn't tell me. I was like, dang it, you know. But it sounds like they had a lot of fun with the 2.0 versions. You know, obviously we have the Raylan one, and, you know, she's pretty great. So, I mean, I'm not sure that they're saying they're going OP, but I think they had fun designing them, it sounds like. So, I think Major Q11 is going to be pretty cool. Alright, well, we're at an hour and 15. I promised about an hour. We've spent a few minutes covering some questions and just kind of chilling here, just kind of winding down. So we'll go ahead and close out here. It's been a good conversation. We had, you know, just some good bullets about our experience. Again, the excitement of Heroscape coming back. Also wanted to cover, again, just some of those controversial things that we felt were important, but also kind of that relief that we gained by our experience with interfacing with Renegade and being at GenCon. Really great experience. Hopefully you guys can have watched this and really do feel the excitement and hype that we feel about Heroscape. It was an incredible weekend, and I think we're all in for just a really exciting time for Heroscape. So get out, get active, go to your events, buy Heroscape, play with your family, play with your friends, and let's ride this thing. I think we're in for a ride. So anyway,
on a dragon.
Yeah, on a dragon. Yeah, literally. Yeah, Solomon's dragon. Let's go. All right. Well, we're gonna go ahead and sign off. All. Hopefully, we kept you engaged and excited and interested in listening to this. Ramble on for an hour and a half. So, anyway, gonna sign off.